Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with the next review of the Terror in the Aisles challenge. This time, Jason and I watched The Exorcist. What an excellent day for an exorcism. The Exorcist is a 1973 horror film directed by William Friedkin, based on the novel by William Peter Blatty. With The Exorcist being as iconic as it is, it's no surprise that it's featured in Terror in the Aisles. As I mentioned in a previous video, Jason and I have been watching the original cuts of the films for this challenge. Our thought process was, when Terror in the Aisles was released, only the original theatrical cuts of these movies were available. I'm sure you know there are multiple versions of The Exorcist available now, but this here is the original DVD release with the original theatrical cut of the film. You've all seen it, I know you have, but I still feel like I have to give somewhat of a synopsis in this video. Hollywood actress Chris McNeil is a single mother after separating from her actor husband. She and her 12-year-old daughter Reagan, played by Linda Blair, are currently renting a house in Georgetown, where Chris is filming her latest movie. Chris hears sounds at night coming from the attic and believes it to be a family of rats. It turns out, though, there are no rats at all. One day, Reagan finds a spirit board, or Ouija board. While playing with it, she begins speaking to someone she calls Captain Howdy. Gradually, Reagan's behavior starts changing after this. Eventually, she even begins acting violent, which is not like her. After running many tests, doctors believe it to be either physical or emotional. What it actually is, though, is demonic. Reagan is possessed by the devil. When Chris's director dies inexplicably outside their house, Lieutenant Kinderman starts an investigation. He meets with Father Damien Karras, the psychiatric counselor for the Catholic Church. Religious artifacts in the church have been recently vandalized, and Kinderman thinks it might all be connected. Father Karras is later called in to evaluate Reagan as her condition worsens. He too is dealing with personal issues of his own, though, with the recent passing of his mother. He begins questioning his own faith in the process. When it appears that Reagan is in fact possessed, Father Merrin, who has conducted an exorcism in the past, is called in. Together with Father Karras, he must exorcise the demon from Reagan to save her body and her soul. I don't think it's a stretch to say that many probably consider The Exorcist to be a masterpiece. It's definitely a contender for most popular horror movie of all time. Sure, you have your Halloween, your Psycho, your Jaws, but you also have The Exorcist. William Friedkin is an incredible director. I'm a huge fan of his films. You've heard me mention Rampage quite a few times on my channel. Both cuts. Friedkin just has a style, and it oozes with atmosphere. I mean the exorcism scene alone at the end of the film, where you can see everyone's breath in the room because it's so cold. That's how you build an atmosphere for even the viewers to feel. Linda Blair is phenomenal as Reagan. She deserves that legendary status she received for this role. The religious imagery in this movie is sometimes shocking and disturbing. The desecrated statue in the church has stuck with me since the first time I saw this. It's safe to say it will stay with me forever. Reagan's filthy mouth and disgusting dialogue is something else that will always be remembered. Jason made a good point while we were watching this. The Exorcist is not only impactful because it affects a young girl, but that young girl just happens to be the child of a famous actress in the movie. It's like watching a celebrity brush with horror. Neither of those things were all that common in cinema back when The Exorcist was released. What else do I want to mention? The score. Iconic, just like the movie. It's funny how little it's actually used throughout the film, though. It's worth mentioning, too, that since Jason and I only watched the theatrical cut, there was no spider walk scene in this one. That's a great scene featured in the version you've never seen or the extended director's cut of The Exorcist. It's crazy to think that wasn't in the initial release. My wife is a huge fan of The Exorcist, even more than I am. She always has been. Don't get me wrong, I love it too. It's a fantastic film. But this should come as no surprise to those who know me. I do have an issue with the pacing. It gets a little slow in parts, here and there, unnecessarily. I'm all for a good slow burn, but sometimes you can trim the fat. Now, that doesn't mean I love the movie any less, or don't appreciate it for what it is. I feel the same way about Jaws, which Jason and I already reviewed during this challenge. I also feel that way about Halloween 2, which we haven't gotten to yet, but will be at some point. My point is, just because I have an issue with the pacing doesn't mean I don't love The Exorcist. Believe it or not, though, I love The Exorcist 3 even more. If you've seen my review of The Exorcist 3 for the Fangoria Challenge, then you know how much I love this sequel. William Peter Blatty directed this one himself, based on his novel Legion. And before he decided to direct it himself, John Carpenter was almost at the helm. Even though this is called The Exorcist 3, it's actually a direct follow-up to the original. It completely ignores The Exorcist 2. In my opinion, The Exorcist 3 is not only one of the most underrated horror sequels of all time, but it's one of the greatest horror sequels ever made. I mentioned all of this, though, in my review for it, so please check that out if you haven't. What are your thoughts on The Exorcist? Comment below and let me know. And please be sure to check out Jason's review. What an excellent day for another review in the Terror in the Aisles Challenge. Coming soon. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.